Okay. The August 27th, 2024 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors is hereby called to order. And okay, we'll begin with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Shahobs people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their rights to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. In Everett Public Schools, we strive to create equitable outcomes and build a culture of inclusive belonging for all students, teachers, staff, and community. Too much paper. Okay, now we're on to section 3.0, the flag salute. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if anybody's wearing a hat, take it off.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
President Mitchell.
Present.
Vice President Herman. Present. Director Atkins.
Present.
Director Mason.
Present.
Director Revelinsky.
Present.
Thank you. Section 5.0 is adoption of the agenda. Dr. Saltzman, were there any changes to the agenda after it was published?
Yes, Madam Chair, there have been two changes to the agenda. Item 2.01, land acknowledgement, the presenter was updated. Item 7.01, the superintendent's report, the presentation was added. Item 11.12, approval of the Community Health Centers lease agreement for school-based health centers was modified to include the approval of Resolution 1311 and Resolution 1312. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there any objection to the meeting agenda being adopted by general consent? Thank you. Seeing none, the agenda is adopted by general consent. Well, that moves us on to our favorite part of the meeting, which is section 6.0 recognitions. Tonight we'll recognize our new administrative staff. Welcome. And Dr. Wood, you're starting us off. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Superintendent Saltzman. It is such an honor to introduce some really high-quality administrators who have joined our team here in Everett. I'll be starting with those school-based administrators who are joining us from Region 1. And when I start your introduction, just come on up, because I'll introduce them a little bit, tell you a little bit about themselves, and then they're going to give you a little bit about their why. So we'll start with Dr. Melvin Bustamante. Dr. Bustamante joins us as an assistant principal at Everett High School. He's returning to Everett Public Schools from a year away, where he served as assistant principal at Boca Raton High School in Florida. He originally joined Everett Public Schools in 2021 as assistant principal at Evergreen Middle School, and during the 22-23 school year, Melvin served as the North Middle School principal. Prior to 2021, Melvin was assistant principal at Boca Raton High School. He earned his doctorate in educational leadership from Lynn University, and his dissertation focused on the educational encounter, storytelling of successful African-American Latino immigrant male high school graduates. Please welcome Dr. Melvin Bustamante.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Melvin Bustamante, soy el nuevo asistente de la Escuela de Everett High School. My name is Melvin Bustamante, and I'm very fortunate, and thank you to all of you and everybody here for being, for being amazing. And my why is I want to be that person I didn't have when I was in school. So I hope to continue that with our kids here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. B. Next, I'd like to introduce Sabrina Cordova. Ms. Cordova also is joining us as an assistant principal at Everett High School. She comes to us most recently from her role as assistant principal at Mariner High School in the Mukilteo School District, where she specifically served as the administrator for 9th grade success. Prior to Mukilteo, Sabrina held several leadership positions in Texas, including associate principal at Fort Stockton Middle School, principal at Alamo Elementary, and assistant principal at Eastside Elementary. Before her leadership roles, Sabrina taught algebra and math. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Biology at Sul Ross State University and her Master of Education from Concordia University. Please welcome Sabrina Cordova.
Gracias. Hola. Soy Sabrina Cordova de parte de Texas. Woo woo. Howdy, y'all. I speak 2 languages. I speak Texan and I speak Spanish and I speak sometimes English. I enjoy working with students and sharing with them. I like to sell them on education and the importance of education. Once I convince the students to invest in themselves, I enjoy following up with them and seeing their progress. Their educational good choices is my why for being in education. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Sabrina. Next, I'd like to introduce Patty Forian. Patty joins us as an assistant principal at Madison Elementary and View Ridge Elementary. She joins Everett from her position as assistant principal at Sunset Elementary in the Issaquah School District. She's been an assistant principal in Issaquah since 2019. Prior to that, she held roles as dean of students and elementary classroom teacher. She taught for 22 years in Issaquah and Moses Lake School Districts. She earned her bachelor's degree in sociology from Whitman College, her master's in education and professional development with a specialization in bilingual education, ESL, from Heritage University, and her administrative credential from CityU. Please join me in welcoming Patty Forian.
Hi, thank you so much for having me tonight and for all that you are doing for Everett Public Schools. I'm very excited to be here. My why is about being an unseen child, a poor child in a rich school, and it wasn't until I was in 3rd grade that I was seen by a teacher who fully inspired me, and throughout my career I've had these aha lollipop moments that I hope to instill in the students in Everett. Thank you.
Next, please join me in welcoming Allie Nickel, who is transitioning from her instructional coach position at Silver Firs Elementary to assistant principal at Jefferson and Woodside Elementaries. Allie joined Everett Public Schools in 2018. She completed her principal internship in Everett and has been a classroom teacher and instructional coach at the elementary level. Prior to coming to Everett, Allie was a classroom teacher, interventionist, and instructional technology curriculum leader in the Bellevue School District. Allie earned her bachelor's degree in education with a major in social studies and a minor in English from Western Washington University, her Master of Science in Curriculum and Instruction from Western Governors U, and her principal certification from City University. Please join me in welcoming Allie to her new role.
Thank you, President Mitchell, directors, Dr. Saltzman, for allowing me to continue this journey of growth in Everett. My why has remained the same from the time I was in the classroom to being an interventionist consultant, coach, and now as an AP. It's just the scale has grown. For me, it's about the people. It's about building belonging, building self-efficacy, and helping people find that desire to learn and keep going. Through fostering relationships and system building, I work to ensure that each and every student and staff member has the support and gentle nudge to keep growing. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. Next, I'd like to introduce Jack Roy. Jack joins us as the principal of Port Gardner Parent Partnerships, Sequoia, and online high schools. Jack is transitioning from acting principal to the principal role. Over the past 12 years, Jack has been a classroom teacher at Sequoia High School. Prior to that, he was assistant principal at Everett High School and Lakewood High School. Jack began his teaching career at Mount Vernon High School. He earned his Bachelor of Arts in Education from Western Washington University and his Master's of Education from City University, and we are so glad that he has felt the call to come back to administration. Please join me in welcoming Jack Roy.
President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Saltzman, it feels a little strange because my why, I think you got to see at graduation last year. The kids I get to work with, the students I get to serve, many of them who are underrepresented, keep me going every single day. And so I will see you with all those students at graduation again this year. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Jamie Street. Jamie joins us as assistant principal at Everett High School. She joins Everett Public Schools from the Issaquah School District, where she was an administrative intern at Liberty High School. By the way, that is where I did my administrative internship in the last century. She was also a teacher on special assignment there. Jamie's been a language arts teacher at Issaquah Middle School, and prior to Issaquah, she was a language arts teacher in the Renton School District and taught dual credit writing courses in Oakland, Oregon. She earned her Bachelor of Arts in Secondary Education in English and Writing at the University of Southern Indiana, and her Master of Education in Curriculum Design and Technology from Bushnell University. She received her administrator certification from Gonzaga. We look forward to having Jamie join the team at Everett High School. So please join me in welcoming Jamie Street.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. After 18 years in the classroom, I get to embark on my administrative career here in Everett. Very excited about that. I do speak a little hillbilly because I'm originally from Kentucky, but that's about it. And my why, I have taught in 4 different states, and so I have seen across the U.S. the inequities in education. So I want to ensure that all students have access to a fair and equitable education, particularly our students who are underserved, that they do have access to a rigorous education. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And last but not least for Region 1, I'd like to introduce Holly Sullivan, who is joining us as assistant principal at North Middle School. Holly joins us from Sylvester Middle School in Highline, where she was assistant principal. Prior to that, she was assistant principal at White Center Heights Elementary, also in the Highline School District. Holly has experience as a math teacher and instructional coach. She earned her Master of Education in Middle School Math and Science from the University of Oregon and her administrative certification from Western Washington University. Please join me in welcoming Holly Sullivan.
Thank you. My why really has to do with supporting students in middle school, which is an area in which you may realize the biggest transitions for many of our young people go through, and they really do need the strongest advocates who can see them each day as a new day and the growth that they're making towards becoming the people that they want to be. I am really excited to continue to support in middle school, and I'm excited to get to know Everett Public Schools and how to support the students here. Thank you.
President Mitchell, directors, Dr. Saltzman, it's my pleasure to continue introducing amazing new administrators. I have 3 for Region 2. I'll invite Danielle DeYoung to come on up. Danielle joins us as the Woodside Elementary principal. Danielle joins Everett from the Kent School District, where she had been the principal of Crestwood Elementary School. In 2023, Danielle was recognized as the Kent Principal of the Year. Prior to her 3 years as principal of Crestwood Elementary, Danielle was an assistant principal at Sunrise, dean of students at Carriage Crest Elementary, and an instructional coach at Cedar Valley, all in the Kent School District. In addition, Danielle was an intervention coordinator, reading specialist, and a language arts teacher. Danielle earned her bachelor's degree in humanities and psychology, a master's in teaching degree in elementary ed, another master's of education and advanced leadership from Sierra Nevada College, and she earned a Master's of Science in Educational Leadership from Western Governors University. Please welcome Danielle DeYoung.
Thank you, Dr. Meisner, for the introduction. Good evening, and thank you, President Mitchell, directors, Superintendent Saltzman, Dr. Saltzman. I am honored to stand before you tonight, ready to launch the school year at Woodside Elementary. When I began exploring districts for my relocation, I was captivated by the alignment of Everett's strategic plan to my own core values and my leadership why. And what really drives me as a lead learner in the building is providing equitable access for each and every student, being transparent and providing two-way communication for each and every stakeholder, and ensuring that we are using effective research-based instructional practices in each and every classroom. I am thrilled to join a team that puts their plan into action. It is a pleasure to serve in Everett, and I'm ready to make it a wonderful year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danielle. Next, Madeline Mason. Madeline joins us as an assistant principal at HM Jackson High School. Previously, she served as an assistant principal at Woodinville High School in the North Shore School District. Prior to that, she was an instructional coach at the MSD Washington Township School District in Indianapolis, Indiana. Madeline earned her bachelor's degree in international studies and Spanish from University of Illinois, her master's of arts in secondary education from Marian University, and a second master's of arts in organizational leadership from Columbia University. She is currently working on her PhD, hoping to defend in January, maybe? PhD in educational leadership from Indiana University. Please welcome Madeline.
Thank you, President Mitchell and Dr. Saltzman, directors. My leadership why is really all about equity and access. Our kids deserve the best, and all kids deserve the best. How I achieve that is all about building relationships with students and families. What drives me is really being in the trenches with them, boots on the ground with kids, families. You'll see me in the hallways, you'll see me in classrooms every single day, you'll see me at their events, just really working to be an authentic partner with families and be a part of the Everett Public Schools community and the Jackson community. I think if you can do those things, then you can achieve all of the other stuff that we care about. Y la última cosa, como una persona bilingüe, tengo una pasión trabajar con los estudiantes de otros idiomas. Estoy entusiasmada elevar académicamente y en otras maneras a esos estudiantes con amor y hacerlo juntos, which basically means I'm excited to work with our ML students.
Thank you, Madeline. Janelle, come on up. Janelle Thompson is joining Everett Public Schools as an assistant principal at Jackson High School. Janelle comes to Everett from her role as secondary principal intern and English 10 honors and special education math teacher at Edmonds Woodway High School. Prior to Edmonds, Janelle taught ELA for the New York Department of Education in Brooklyn. In addition, she was an intervention and English teacher in Detroit, Michigan, and Baltimore City Public Schools. Janelle earned her Bachelor of Science in Cultural Studies from SUNY Empire State College in Saratoga Springs, New York, her Master's of Arts in English Literature from Brooklyn College of City University, and a principal certification from Eastern Washington University. Please welcome Janelle Thompson.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I am extremely excited to be here and to have joined Everett Public Schools. It means so much to me to be a part of a district that is as committed and as passionate about student growth as I am. So my why is succinctly put, is to remove all obstacles that impede a student's success. But beyond that, I wish to really instill resiliency in our students, because I know that with the fire of resiliency, that there is nothing that you can't do in this world, nothing. And if someone had told me that, I think I'd be, a little bit beyond where I am right now. But, I'm very happy to be here. At this time, I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the work that I need to do. And so thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to an exciting first year as a principal. Sorry, did I say that? As an assistant principal, I think, yes, as an assistant principal. Thank you for having me, and thank you for believing in me. All right.
All right, we are inspired by our school leaders. I'd like to introduce Larry Fleckenstein to introduce his new administrative team. Larry?
Well, I don't have gray hair like Mike Gunn, but I got to tell you, I'm just as excited as he would be to have these two next of our newest members to the team join us. First, I'd like to have Matt Finch come on up. Matt Finch is the Director in Facilities and Operations. Previously, he comes to us from the Edmonds School District, where he was most recently the Director of Maintenance and previously as a construction manager. When he's not building buildings for our students, he really enjoys going to the cabin with family, skiing, and golfing. And I just have to say, what a great addition we've made into our team, having Matt join us. So Matt, welcome Matt Finch.
Good evening, board, Dr. Salzman. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Everyone's been so welcoming. It's amazing. It's an incredible group of leaders here and staff in general. So it's thank you everybody for making it so easy to be a new hire in the system. My why, I love school construction. Bringing old buildings up to the 21st century, teaching and learning all the modalities that can happen within a new setting is just so exciting. Watching kids come into a building that's brand new is amazing, and so that's what I'm really excited about and just happy to be here, so thank you.
And next is a familiar face, but we're bringing him up into the supervisory ranks. That's Andrew Solheim, who's a supervisor in maintenance and maintenance operations. Andrew, you might recognize as having been a master mechanic within our system, been the lead for our district's paint crew. He is now supervising in the southern portion of our district, the teams there that maintain the school district. When he's not actively improving the look and feel of our schools, Andrew really enjoys being with his family outdoors. And, fun fact, he is actually a master within Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and an instructor here in Everett. He has a dojo, if that's the appropriate term. So please welcome Andrew Solheim.
Thank you, Larry. All right, Board of Directors, President Mitchell, Dr. Saltzman, I'd like to sincerely thank everyone in the room for the opportunity for continued growth within the school district. I've been a maintenance mechanic, like Larry said, for the past 16 years. For the past 7 or 8, I served as the shop steward for our bargaining unit. So, and then, of course, with the jiu-jitsu. I'm really excited for this role, and I think that I bring a unique experience and blend of leadership experience as well as practical building trades. And I'm excited to utilize that skill set to provide our students, our staff, and our community members with the facilities that they deserve and that they can be proud of. So, thank you.
And now I'd like to welcome Brian Beckley up to the stand.
President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Saltzman. It's my pleasure to introduce 2 new directors that we had 2 opening, and these are directors we got to add. And we are really lucky to have both of them. So I'm excited to introduce both of them, and I'll start by Dan Hansen. If Dan could come forward. Dan might be a familiar face to some of you. He is taking on the Director of Digital Resources position, so he's going to be a key part of the digital tool review and the district support of our district adopted and supported tools, which will be great because he is coming from the classroom and using these tools as a teacher, most recently from North, also taught at Evergreen, and he's taught most recently math, but he's taught some English, social studies, AVID, health and fitness. He's taught a little bit of everything. We're really lucky to have him. He's a national board certified teacher and got his bachelor's in secondary ed from Northwestern University and his master's in ed leadership from City University. So join me in welcoming Dan Hansen.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, and Superintendent Saltzman. My why is really to continue the work that started in 1989 that I didn't know I was starting when I went to Jefferson Elementary as a first grader. And since that time, 35 years ago, I've been a student, I've been an athlete, an ASB officer, an ASB advisor, a teacher, a coach, a lot of different roles. But what stands true through all of those different roles that I've had in the district is the element of teamwork that is so prevalent in Everett Public Schools. Using the team, the members that you have on your team with you to help each other and to help other people. I'm really excited about the opportunity in my new role to spread that reach and help other people as part of another team. So thank you.
And next we have Karen Hickenbottom. Come on up, Karen. Karen is taking on the director of the Learning Management Services team, so she's going to take a key lead on our instructional support and the learning of the tools that we have, the digital tools. So a big part of her work is going to be around synergy and training our, putting together a training plan and leading that work across the district as we move into our new student information system. So she's really excited about that work. Also going to take a lead on our AI work and our training and support of teachers and staff around AI. She comes to us from the Edmonds School District. She was the K-12 Library and Digital Learning Coordinator and digital learning teacher, highly capable teacher, digital learning specialist. She earned her bachelor's degree in secondary ed and her master's degree from Western Washington and her doctorate of digital educational leadership from Seattle Pacific University. We're really fortunate to add Karen to the team. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you for having me. I think I'm last, so I feel like I need a big finish, but I'll save you the interpretive dance for later. My why is really around getting to a tipping point. We are not at that place yet where staff and students feel like technology, some of them still feel like it's a barrier or a challenge, and what I hope is to eventually get us to a tipping point where it's just technology is a natural part of creativity and productivity and innovation, and that it's not seen as an obstacle anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. I think now is when we have the photo op moment, correct? And we are going to have all of our new administrators come up and join the board. We will help direct you. So you're going to go stand in front of the board here.
Everybody. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Gotta squeeze in. Wants to be in front.
Double stack.
Yes.
Yes, you
should.
I'm blocking. I
feel
like I'm blocking. Thank you for taking.
Everybody stand on your, like, sideways.
Okay, scooch in a little bit more. You're almost there. Okay. All right. Scooch in a little bit more. Sorry. It's for the camera. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. I'll just say really quickly, I appreciate the multilingual learners out there and a lot of inclusive talk. And then I have been to Saratoga Springs in April, college touring, when there was this much snow in April. Okay, so I'll now move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Saltzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and to the public this evening. Before I start my report, to the gold medal team, before you leave, you're going to stay 1 second to the gold medal team. I got a lot of texts from other districts saying, wow, you took all our great people, so it's really good to have you here, okay? I wish you the best of luck. I've been here 5 years, starting my 6th year, and this is an outstanding team that has come in to serve our district and our students. Kudos to our regional superintendents for their great work, and welcome to the family. So have a great evening and sleep fast, okay? Thank you so much, okay? Well, to our public this evening, we're just 8 days away from the first day of school for our 1st grade through 12th grade students. And let me assure the public that we will have a very smooth opening. Buses will be on time, food will be served, amazing educators and support staff will be in front of your youngsters. I can assure you that, and I promise you that commitment. Okay, and then a few days after that, our kindergarten students will be entering our school district for the first time. And parents, you can drop them off. And I know you'll be excited and sad at the same time, but know that you're entering a great journey of public education. So we are very excited for the opening day. We have worked hard for this preparation. And again, let me assure you that we will have great success opening day and throughout the school year. I want to give you some updates that would have taken place over the summer, because in public education, it's not too many days off for staff. Let me begin with our facilities team. And you'll hear more about that in the weeks to come, but they have worked extremely hard on many projects throughout the district. At Eisenhower Middle School, for example, we've added a fresh coat of paint and building on our refinished gym floor. We also have made HVAC upgrades at the following schools: Cascade High School, Jackson High School, Eisenhower Middle School. And in addition, our crews have completed a playground update at Garfield Elementary School, just to name a few. So we will have amazing things seen as you enter our school year and seeing what we have. I do want to thank the HR department and the entire district staff on a successful job fair. Let me say this again, an amazing job fair. We hired 57 classified staff during the job fair. That is up from last year's job fair, where we hired 43 classified staff at the same event. Appreciate everybody loving to come to Everett, and we're glad to have you. So great job to the HR department and welcoming those new members to our team. Again, I want to thank the administrators that came today and welcome them to our amazing district. Did you know this, public? We had 75 new teachers come to Everett Public Schools last week. We had our Teacher Fest, as I call it. Welcome to our new teachers. And it was an amazing event. Of those teachers, 24 are new to teaching, okay? And many, a dozen, graduated our school district also. How about that? They came home. They came home, okay? Everett Ready was a huge success. We had more than 1,000 kindergartners attend Everett Ready last week. More than 1,000. Everett Ready, just so you know, is our 4-day program to launch incoming kindergarten students and their families into our elementary school setting. If they come a week earlier, they'll be well prepared when they enter the first day of school. New this year to our public, we had Everett Ready for developmental learning. Kindergarten students at View Ridge, Monroe, and Silver Lake Elementary Schools took part in that. In addition to the half-day student program, every school held a family engagement meeting during the week to welcome families and provide information about the school to those kindergarten families and to know about kindergarten program. I want to publicly thank Aaron Arnold and Shelley Bowden for all their hard work with this incredible program. This doesn't happen overnight. It takes great time, and I will tell you, it was great to see those students as I walked with Regional Superintendent Dr. Kathy Woods. We enjoyed our time seeing those students. We were at Lowell Elementary. Well, we look forward to next week. We're ready. Buses are ready to roll. Schedules will be in the hand of our students. Food services will be prepped with a hot meal for our students. Our staff will be excited to greet the youngsters. And now I'm going to share with the public a video that we made just to tell you we'll see you Wednesday morning. Feet on the ground. Wishing everybody a great, successful school year. Thank you. Good afternoon. Just want to say we are ready for you. We are excited for the school year to start. We hope you are. It's going to be a fantastic year full of learning, caring, and let's disconnect to connect. All right? Can't wait to see you all the first day of school. Thank you.
As we gear up for the first day, here are a few important things to keep in mind. First, make sure you've updated your contact information in our Student Information System, Home Access Center, so you do not miss any important announcements.
The health and safety of our students remain our priority. Please make sure that you turn in all of your students' health documents before school starts. This ensures your child is ready to learn from day one.
Applying to receive free meals is about more than just breakfast or lunch at school. Families in need of financial assistance can also receive help with athletic fees and other school-related expenses. To take advantage of these benefits, be sure to fill out your child nutrition eligibility and education benefit application as soon as possible, even if your school's already receives free meals. And don't forget to check out the school menu online for what our food and nutrition teams are serving up each week.
We are ready to transport your students safely to and from school. Before the first day of school, please review with your student their daily transportation plan. If your student qualifies to take the school bus, you can find your bus route as well as bus pickup and drop-off times by visiting our transportation webpage. New this year, we've launched the MyStop app, which lets you track your student's bus in real time. We encourage you to download the MyStop app to stay connected with your students' daily bus travel.
Over the summer, our staff worked to make sure computers for both our students and staff are ready for the school year. We are committed to providing the best technology to support learning, and we thank our community for the support of the Technology Levy for ensuring our students and staff have the tools they need to be successful.
Our facility crews have been hard at work all summer, making sure our schools are ready for our students, families, and staff. Thank you.
After a busy summer of hiring outstanding new staff, we're ready to welcome students back with passionate and dedicated teams here to serve our community.
We know communication is important when it comes to your student and their education. This year, we are launching Parent Square, our new school and district communication tool. This will be your go-to platform for all district and school information. We encourage all families to download the Parent Square mobile app and activate your account to stay connected.
Students and staff and parents, we're excited and we're going to see you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Saltzman. Now it is time for board comments. Director Ovalinsky, would you like to begin?
Sure. I'm excited, I think as much as you guys are, that the summer's over and we get to start the school year. Thank you for all the celebrations and all the work that you've done over the summer. I have been witness to it, at least at Eisenhower and at Everett High School a little bit. Thank you. Let's do this.
Director Mason?
Not much to report, given that we've sort of been on break here. And I always am reminded that this is actually our last school board meeting of the year, even though it feels like our first one and we're all reconvening. But I just wanted to say how inspiring I find the whys that we heard earlier this evening or this afternoon from all our new administrators. It just is another reminder to me why I enjoy serving so much in this district. We really do an amazing job of hiring quality individuals that bring so much. And I also love hearing about how from the outside, when they start looking into our district, how there's such a huge it's so succinct between our strategic plan and their goals and desires and what we're actually doing here. So I just really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome back from summer. I hope everyone had a good summer, and I have just a few things to report. Over the summer, I got to learn more about our crime prevention through environmental design, thanks to David Peters and some other folks, which that was really informative talk and just learned quite a bit about it. And then also got the opportunity to participate in my first WASDA government-to-government task force meeting. And that was a good way to kick off August. And yeah, I was able to be present at the summer graduation, and that was also very exciting to get to see folks graduate and get to see some of these kids making that huge life step. So don't have anything else to report, and just glad we're all back.
Well, obviously a big welcome back, but also, and I think great video, it shows that the staff have really been busy this summer. So a big thank you for all the work that's been done to get us to this point. I think we're all really excited for opening day next week, and I think it's going to be terrific. Couple things from over the summer. I was able to participate in the Everett Career Link summer presentations. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to the 3 that I was able to take part in. The businesses, these are students that are able to work in small teams with business professionals, researching, collaborating, problem solving. And then what we were able to do is see their presentations at the end of their experience. And so I was able to participate with Go West Credit Union, Helion, and Monroe and Associates. So a thank you to those companies for their partnership, and a big thank you to our CTE department for setting those up. Also, the new hire orientation, I was able to do a welcome to new staff and certificated staff, and what a great fresh energy that they bring. So just like today with our administrators, that was just a wonderful experience to take part in. And then also with summer graduation, I really love how we do, similar to Sequoia's graduation, where we get to hear a little bit about each student and how powerful that is to hear their stories. We also had a few students that were graduating actually a year early, but each student just had such a unique story. So wonderful to take part in that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw the best of the district this summer, mostly in August, because I also attended the Career Link mentorship presentations as well as the internship presentations today. That really shows that students are learning, especially with Helion, more than I can even explain. And I really appreciate the support of our community for our students, and hearing how they are committed to continue with these internships and mentorships into the future. I think is a great opportunity for our students. I also attended part of the Leadership Institute, where I was able to stay for just a little bit, but to participate and watch the administrators really talk about equity and what it's going to look like in the schools this year. And then I did help with the Foundation Stuff the Bus for Kids event over a weekend a couple weeks ago, and just really saw the generosity of the community. And I just have some examples I want to share, that 2 young workers from stores nearby to the QFC in Everett, one of them gave 2 composition books and another pulled out $2. I mean, these are minimum wage workers, young people who still felt that need to give. A woman walked up and said, "I've been saving up for this," and handed us $100. And we saw gifts from people that I'm Social Security dependent, who would hand me $2, and then other people that would hand me $100. And when after it was all over, found out from the executive director of the foundation that between Fred Meyer and QFC, they exceeded their fundraising goals. And so I was able to tell the people that said, "I can only give $2, don't worry, your money will multiply." And I just feel so thankful that it did. And just the generosity of this community, what everybody did this summer for our kids. I'm just very, very, very thankful and very excited for school to start next week. So thank you. Now we'll move on to public comment. Dr. Saltzman, are there any requests for public comment?
Madam Chair, there's none at this time.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to legislative updates. And I think Director Herman, you have a quick report.
Yes, thank you. So in a few weeks, we have our General Assembly for WASDA. And as you all know, WASDA is our state School Directors Association, which really is our collective voice of school directors to the legislature. And so in a few weeks, we have General Assembly, which is our opportunity to vote on changes to the WASDA platform. The WASDA platform currently has 225 positions. They rotate, and it's somewhat of a working document because they continue on, and it's General Assembly where we update those. And so you should have, for school directors, you will have received the General Assembly handbook in your inboxes, and this is also, you can view it on the WASDA website, but there are 48 items that are going to be voted on in September, and we'll talk about this at our board retreat this week. But I think that's it for now, but we'll be talking about it further. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we move on to section 11.0, the consent agenda. Dr. Saltzman, have you received any questions about a consent agenda item?
Madam Chair, in the case of this consent agenda, the superintendent's office did not receive any questions on the consent agenda.
Thank you. First, does any director wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and place it in the new business section of the meeting? Okay, thank you. And now, is there any objection to adopting the consent agenda by general consent? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved by general consent. We now move on to section 12.0, strategic progress monitoring, and I do not believe there's any for this meeting. Then section 13.0, information discussion, there is none for this meeting. And that moves us on to the first of two big topics, unfinished business, and 14.0, the adoption of resolution 1310, the operating budget for fiscal year 2024-25. Ms. Tress.
Thank you, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, and Dr. Saltzman. Tonight, the district is holding its hearing and adoption of the 24-25 operating budget, culminating to asking the board to approve resolution 1310, adoption of the operating budget for the 24-25 fiscal year. I will review the process for adopting a school district budget, confirm no changes to the budget after the first reading on July 2nd, review the district's 4 comprehensive funds and its 4-year forecast, again asking the board to approve resolution 1310, adoption of the 24-25 operating budget. One thing I want to highlight before I talk about the process is just how many people are involved in this process and the work this takes to get the operating budget completed overall. Many department leaders, human resources staff, and our finance staff take a lot of time and energy to put this information together and make this a great process overall. Dealing with different staffing workbooks and getting feedback from our departments and our human resources team on the information we need to present to the state and to the board and the community today. State law prescribes are pretty prescriptive on the overall budget adoption process. Districts are required to make their budget available to the public by July 10th. They're required to hold a hearing and an adoption and adopt a budget by August 31st before the fiscal year. This year, the district has held its first reading on July 2nd regular board meeting and provided public notices to the community, notifying them of our hearing and adoption of the budget that is being held today on August 27th. At this moment in time, I have not heard of any public comments being received, and there have been no changes since the first reading on July 2nd to all of our 5 comprehensive funds. I'll start with reviewing again the district's general fund, its main operating fund. As I mentioned earlier, we haven't changed our operating budget, proposed operating budget revenues and expenditures for the 24-25 fiscal year. Revenues and expenditures are exceeding revenues by approximately $5.9 million in this proposed operating budget, and having an ending fund balance of 7.8% of expenditures, which is above our overall board-approved policy of 5% minimum fund balance. This budget does include one-time expenditures, and I want to just highlight that the difference between our revenues and expenditures is just slightly over 1%. And really, for the size of our operating budget, that 1% is really a pretty nominal in nature overall, a difference between the revenue and expenditures. I also want to highlight enrollment, as this is one of our primary drivers of the overall district operating budget. It drives the general fund revenues. It also drives the general fund staffing overall. The district develops its enrollment using a consultant, and they provide us a low, medium, and high projection of enrollment overall. That consultant is Les Kendricks. This year, we are utilizing the middle or the medium enrollment projections, and that's really due to the fact that our enrollment last year, as of October 1st, landed right within that medium projections, which means we are anticipating about 52 more students from last year's October one head count, and about 168 more than the adopted budget for last fiscal year. Again, as I mentioned, enrollment does produce about 60% of more than 60% of overall district revenues. Reviewing the district's overall revenue changes from the budget to budget drivers, I want to highlight that we do anticipate an increase in our local levies. Our levy is capped at a certain rate, but annually it does increase by the Consumer Price Index, and so that's what's driving that increase. We do anticipate an increase in our state general funding, and that's driven by multiple drivers. One, which is the cost of living inflator that the state provides annually, which is called IPD, or the implicit price inflator. We're also seeing an anticipated increase in enrollment, as well as an increase in funding for benefit costs as well within that general fund, that general state funding. Our state special purpose funding is increased for multiple drivers as well, part of that being an increase in our anticipated enrollment for our special education programs, as well as our transitional bilingual instructional programs, and we're also anticipating increases in our learning assistant program funding, as well as transportation funding overall. Within that, we also are seeing IPD, or that cost of living adjustments as well. Our federal funding is increasing for multiple reasons as well. We do anticipate an increase in our Title I funding, as well as in our food and nutrition federal program funding, driven by increased participation and an increase in the federal reimbursement rate overall. This is offset actually by a decline in our one-time federal funding related to the pandemic, and so we are seeing an increase, a budget over budget, but there is it's less of an increase due to those fundings going away. Our transfers and other sources are increasing, really driven by giving us capacity to manage through new accounting rules, which increases both revenues and expenditures for long-term subscriptions, for IT subscriptions and leases overall. Looking towards our general fund expenditures, they kind of increase in line with that cost of living inflator increase related to the state revenues. And we also see that on the expenditure side. And as we look at our basic education programs, those increases are related to that IPD inflator, as well as an increase in staffing, both due to our anticipated increase in enrollment. As well as benefits costs, and there are some increases in our material supplies and operating costs in our basic education programs. For our special education programs, we are seeing an increase in enrollment, an increase in staffing cost overall, and an increase in our service provider costs as well, driving that increase. For our CTE programs, again, it's an increase in that overall staffing cost, as well as ensuring we have enough capacity to spend any carryover funding that we don't spend in this fiscal year. And then our categorical funding increases, again, as I mentioned, as the revenues are increasing in some of those state special purpose funds, we're also seeing that in the categorical programs, and that's what's driving those cost expenditures, both within the inflationary factors for staffing costs, but also in adding staff as well. So we are adding staff in those programs as well. Looking at how we spend our dollars as a total and not by program, this really just breaks down our salary expenditures and our material supplies and operating expenditures. And our salary and benefit expenditures are driven by, one, the inflationary factor that the states provide. It's driven by an increase in staff overall, and then it's also driven by increase in benefit costs as well within both medical and our retirement. And then we're seeing an increase in our projected material supplies and operating costs for multiple reasons. Some of it is planned one-time expenditures, and some of it's driven by insurance increases, utility increases, or our contract services increases, both in special education programs and our transportation service contracts overall. That capital outlay expenditure increase is again driven by increasing capacity to ensure that we have some room for our for our long-term contracts related to leases and subscription IT arrangements. And what that looks like for the multi-year forecast or the 4-year forecast for our general fund, just want to highlight some of the assumptions related to that. This does assume slightly increasing enrollment throughout the year. It does assume the state projected IPD costs that were provided in May, and it does assume no legislative changes in the forecasted years overall. And what I want to highlight here is that as you see, as we go out, we start to see our revenues and expenditures be really within 0.25% in that forecasted year overall, and our fund balance maintaining above our minimum fund balance policy of 5% and actually being about a 1% over that fund balance. Looking at our 4 other comprehensive funds, I'll start discussing our capital projects fund. It's one of our other larger funds overall. Again, no changes to what it was presented in July. What I just want to highlight here is that the revenues are supported primarily from our 2022 capital voter approved levy. Expenditures have the capacity to support the project plan. In addition, the capital fund will transfer $4.6 million to the general fund to support capital eligible expenditures that are processed through that must be processed through the general fund required by the state law. Some of those projects for next year include the Jackson Elementary School replacement, Clean Building Act upgrades, technology initiatives, our one-to-one, and our device lifecycle management and other site work across the districts. And again, the fund balance will fluctuate in line with our levy, cash flow, and project plan overall. Our debt service fund supports payment of our outstanding bonds, principal and interest payments. Again, we have enough expenditures to support in the 24-25 budget our payments for the next fiscal year, and then our fund balance is sufficient to support our outstanding bond payments in those forecasted years. The district will have a remaining outstanding bonds of approximately $69.4 million at the end of the next year, which is a slight decline from the 71.3 for this fiscal year. The Associated Student Body Fund supports student activities and extracurricular activities. On May 14th, regular board meeting, the 4 high schools had the opportunity to present to the board. It's one of my favorite board meetings. Their budgets for the year, that has not changed since they made that presentation. Along with this budget, it includes our 5 middle school ASB budgets as well, which hasn't changed since that was since the first reading of the July 2nd board meeting. As you can see here, we're working with our students to slowly, gradually decline the fund balance overall and really emphasize that the students utilize the money that they earn and that they fundraise for in the year that they expend it overall, and working with them and our activities director with that. And then finally, the Transportation Vehicle Fund supports districts' own vehicles. And so there are, again, no changes since the first reading. For the 24-25 fiscal year budget, we have the capacity to purchase 3 buses, and we actually have 2 on order that we anticipate to receive in the January timeframe. And we have plans to purchase an additional one as well. This forecasted a budget also provides capacity each year for the buses based on the aging schedule of the buses overall. And then all of our other funding related to transportation is really ran through our general fund, really because we outsource. We have a service provider provide those contracted services for the district. So I just want to say thank you and then ask the board to consider approval of Resolution 1310, the operating budget for the fiscal year 24-25.
Thank you, Ms. Truss. Is there any discussion?
Quick question. Ms. Truss, could you just explain one of the attachments on the MSOC disclosure? Could you just give a brief overview of what that is?
Right, thank you so much. So one thing the state requires all districts to do is disclose in their documents how much funding they get for their basic ed programs and material supplies and operating costs, and then disclose what their budgeted plan is overall. And so if there's an instance where your expenditures are less than your revenues, districts are required to explain what they're going to utilize those from. In this instance, we are not. We do have the plan is actually exceeds our overall MSOC revenues. I also want to highlight in this fiscal year now, because of the legislative changes that were made during the 2024 session, where they provided additional increases in MSOC funding, they're requiring districts to certify that they're utilizing that additional funding on those costs overall. And so it is a disclosure we don't typically certify each year, and it will be a one-year only certification. But they want to, it's the state's way of ensuring that districts are utilizing the funding that they're providing in the way that they are intended to provide those resources.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm going to ask again, any further questions? Is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 1310, adoption of the operating budget for fiscal year 24-25?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It has been moved by Director Atkins and seconded by Director Mason. A public hearing on the proposed resolution is hereby opened. Are there any public comments?
None at this time, Madam Chair.
As there are no public comments, the public hearing on Resolution 1310, adoption of the operating budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 is hereby closed. Are there any comments now about the motion before us? Seeing no further discussion, we'll proceed to the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to you and your team also.
Yes.
A lot of work goes into that.
Okay, now we'll move on to section 15.0, or new business, approval of the Washington School Improvement Framework and recommendations for 24-25 school improvement plan goals. Dr. Bowden.
Good evening, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Salzman. We are excited to share with you this evening the Washington School Improvement Framework Report and seek your approval on the recommended goals for the 24-25 school year. So this evening we'll provide you with an overview of the Washington School Improvement Framework, or we lovingly call it the WSIF, and sharing what the framework is and how we use it to identify support for schools. We'll also be sharing some celebrations within the 23 framework, sharing some actions that led to those successes and improvement for schools. And then we'll also review the proposed WSIF improvement goals for the 24-25 school year, and we'll ask the board to approve those recommended goals. Now, while the WSIF is an annual compliance task that meets both state and federal requirements, we really hope that you will not think about this as a framework compliance, a task to check off annually. It is our commitment, not our compliance, to our students and our stakeholders to help continue to close the gap. The WSIF is more than an accountability tool. It is more than an annual checkoff. It's providing an opportunity to plan to meet the needs of each and every student in our district by actively identifying gaps, implementing effective actions, and ultimately improving our student outcomes. So we hope that you'll think of the WSIF as a toolkit that actually helps our staff to design an annual school improvement goals so that we can target the support where it is needed. So the WSIF is a very specific tool that all schools and Everett Public Schools use to maintain our commitment to educational equity and reduce gaps in achievement among student groups, which is one of our student priority outcomes in our strategic plan. As part of the Washington State Every Student Succeeds Act Consolidated Plan, OSPI set long-term goals in mathematics, English language arts, 4-year and adjusted cohort graduation rates, and progress in achieving English language proficiency. The state established long-term goals to be achieved by the end of the school year 28-29. So our state balances supports in both compliance with the federal law in addition to monitoring and ensuring progress for all of our students. And the framework is how our state determines whether support is needed at both whole school and small student group within a school level. The annual goals that we recommend each year for approval to you, and what we'll do this evening, are to set and provide those schools with incremental targets to help them achieve the long-term goals. So the Washington School Improvement Framework is the state accountability system that's required under the federal law of the Every Student Succeeds Act, or the ESSA Act. It's a 3-year cycle which Washington State's Office of Public Instruction identifies schools for support based on student performance and school quality. The WSIF uses a weighted formula, and it scores schools on a scale of 1 to 10 based on measures of performance such as graduation rate, proficiency in English and English language arts and math, progress for our multilingual learners, and then student growth. Also factored into the formula are school quality and success measures, and these vary by grade band, but they include things like regular attendance, 9th grade on track, dual credit enrollment as well. OSPI then uses this identification to support schools who have students and student groups who are not yet proficient in those areas. Schools that need the most assistance are identified through this process and receive resources from the State Office of System and School Improvement, or OSSI. The cycle allows schools to remain in their most recent identification status for up to 3 years. But more importantly, we always remember that our data represents our students. You likely have heard our superintendent, Dr. Salzman, share his mantra of every student, every day. And when we share about this framework, our successes, how we use this tool, and finally our recommended annual goals, we would ask that you keep that phrase in mind. In our team, every student, every day really embodies our commitment to advocating for each student by ensuring they receive meaningful and learning experiences daily in Everett Public Schools. The approach actually guarantees that all students are supported in achieving their full potential, reinforcing our dedication to their success and their growth. So we have both celebrations and some opportunities to share with you this evening, and how we've performed in and how we use the framework. So in the most recent cycle of the framework, we had some pretty amazing celebrations. 2 of our schools, Tambark Creek and Mill Creek Elementary Schools, scored a 9.9 out of 10 for all of their students. 8 of our 27 schools scored a 9 or higher overall, and 15 scored an 8 or higher, and 23 out of 27 scored above a 6. So we are really, really proud of our schools. They've worked very hard and to make sure that all students are achieving. When we look specifically at English learner progress or multilingual learner progress, 4 of our schools scored a 10. A 10, that's an increase of an entire decile. Both Cedarwood and Tambark spent a second year in the top 10% of schools in EL progress. Forest View and Monroe, this is their first year in the top 10, but with 4 decile increases. That's 4 jumps up that scale, each of those schools. Huge gains in their EL progress, which, as you know, has been a significant focus for Everett Public Schools. We had an incredible 17 schools achieve above a 6, and several of them with more than 3 decile jumps in a year. We are absolutely so proud of our schools who have worked so hard to make those gains for our students. So as educators, we really understand and we know that poverty can negatively impact student educational outcomes. And to be clear, we know that there is a correlation between the percentage of students in qualifying meal status and the challenges in achievement. However, in Everett Public Schools, we are in the business of defeating the predictability of failure. And that means our focus is on breaking that cycle using student data to reflect on our practices, to monitor student performance and data very closely, and then adjust that instruction to meet the student's needs and eventually close gaps. This is a sample screenshot of a tool that we utilize called the WSIF tool, School Comparison Tool, and it really helps us to provide some context for our leaders and our staff, just for our data. This slide happens to show Garfield Elementary's data. This tool lines up 29 schools with Garfield right here, where the dot is in the middle. You can see this is actually sorted in descending free and reduced lunch order rank. So at the top of the scale, you see more affluent schools, at the bottom of the scale, less, and Garfield, smack right there in the middle, number 15. And in fact, Garfield is number 15 in free and reduced lunch rate in these comparative school sets. However, when you look at its WSIF score, it is number 1 out of all of those comparison schools.
Can you move the Zoom thing over so the community can actually see that?
Certainly. Like that.
There we go.
There you go. I can say it again. They are first in their WSIF comparative schools. This is huge. Now, that isn't to say that Garfield doesn't have goals, doesn't have areas to grow. You can see that they're working on attendance. If you looked at their school improvement plan and looked at their specific actions, you can see those are really focused on those areas. But this is a really great achievement for them, and we're exceptionally proud. We're very excited because not only does Garfield actually have some amazing data, but when we look at compared to other schools of similar size or free and reduced lunch rates, 24 of our schools are ranked higher than their free and reduced lunch rate and are within the top 10 in their comparison data. 4 schools had the highest WSIF score of their comparison group. That's Garfield, Jefferson, Mill Creek, and Monroe. Silver Firs, View Ridge, Woodside, Cascade, Eisenhower, and Evergreen all had the second highest WSIF score of their comparison group. And we had 4 schools in the third highest WSIF score of their comparison group. That's Jackson, Lowell, Penny Creek, and Whittier Elementaries. Every high school and every middle school had a ranking above their free and reduced lunch rate ranking. That's impressive. That's when we talk about defeating the predictability of failure. Our schools are working hard, they are focused, they are monitoring their data, and they are creating actions that are ultimately serving our students to help close the gaps. So we know that even though this is a 3-year cycle, an identification, we collect data annually for the WSIF to allow school leadership teams and their staff to continuously monitor the student progress, adjusting their action plans and their implementation steps accordingly to meet the needs of their students. Again, every student, every day means that we focus our efforts on helping students to reach a high degree of success, and we can only do this through frequent monitoring processes in our schools. Now, while we've had some significant gains and some celebrations in our schools this cycle, we also know that we have opportunities for growth. At the state level, all schools in Washington state are ranked to get what we call a threshold of support. The state lines up all those scores for all of those schools and sets the bar at the highest score of the lowest performing 5%. And this threshold then determines which schools receive support. Now, while every one of our schools had all student scores, all students were above the threshold, there were 8 schools within our district who had 1 or 2 student groups that were below the threshold and therefore qualify for supports in this next cycle. Identifying these groups helps schools to narrow their actions in their annual school improvement plans and target support to those students who need the additional time and support to be successful. When our building leadership and staff actually thoughtfully, intentionally use student data to monitor, inform, and adjust their instructional moves, we can achieve our priority student outcome to reduce gaps in achievement among all student groups. And while it may seem daunting to identify for support in a WSIF cycle, we know that with these supports, our school teams can collaboratively work with additional supports and resources to help address student needs. So we'd like to share a little bit about a snapshot of a school and how this school actually really illustrates how they can utilize WSIF data to move instruction forward and help meet the needs of our students. So in a previous cycle, Hawthorne Elementary was identified for support due to 2 student groups below the threshold. And they had been identified for support in both cycles 1 and cycle 2. So for several years, they'd been identified. And here you can see a sample. This is actually one of their slides from their instructional review from last year. And it speaks specifically to 3 actions they were engaged in that were linked to their school improvement plan. So school staff, using their disaggregated data, school staff and leadership created priorities for their instructional focus, they closely monitored student data, and they provided rigorous instruction to meet the needs of our students. As they crafted their school improvement plan actions, they focused on using a model of culturally responsive teaching in the classroom, seeking to authentically engage students in rigorous learning. They created opportunities for families to be celebrated and honored in schools, knowing that creating a culture of care would increase attendance for students, and that was one of their focus areas. They used assessment data to plan and implement academic interventions and specifically looked at the subgroups that were identified that needed additional time and support. They continue to celebrate their students' growth and journey towards proficiency, always closely monitoring student data to maintain their focus on not only raising skills for all, but ensuring that monitoring the identified student groups to create additional time and support for their success. And as a result of their focused actions, Hawthorne Elementary exited from supports in cycle 3 and is no longer in support. This is an amazing, amazing achievement for them. We're really, really proud of that team. So, as a part of district school improvement plans required by the Washington Administrative Code, each school district board of directors shall by September 1st and annually thereafter adopt district-wide performance and improvement goals for measures included in the Washington and School Improvement Framework. And these goals are actually the basis for each school to develop their school improvement plan. So this kind of sets the tone for what schools need to do for their school improvement plans. So the State Board of Education provides goals already for proficiency, multilingual learner progress, and graduation. And those are set at the top of 90% proficiency for all in each subgroup by 2029. For ML learning by 2029, 77% of all ML students annually making progress. And then for graduation, 90% graduation rate for all in each subgroup by 2029. So the other categories, the state targets, this is all determined by the district. So attendance, growth, dual credit, and 9th grade on track is determined locally by each district. And so we will take the state targets for the first 3, but these are our recommended school improvement goals for our district. That is, the attendance is 90% regular attendance by 2029. That helps us to know that the reduction of chronic absenteeism supports access to that instruction and correlates to student achievement. With growth, student growth is actually a change in student achievement between 2 points of time, and it refers to that learning progress that's made by students through instructional experiences. While proficiency is really important, it's growth that closes gaps. So we are recommending that we set our growth goal to 75% by 2029. For dual credit, we're also recommending a 75% enrolled in dual credit course. We are very close to that now with our high schools, and we think that this is a really achievable goal because of our increasing options and opportunities that we're providing students in for dual credit. And then finally, that 9th grade on track is 90% by 2029, and that actually mirrors that graduation. We know that 9th grade on track is a good indicator for how our students projected to graduate on time. We know that we can make that. So those are our recommended goals. And in every district across the state, right about now, school boards like ours are set to approve annual goals this time of year. And in a few moments, I'll ask you to officially approve our recommended goals. But what we hope that you will remember is that when you do, these annual goals are the tools for school improvement. They're the guidelines that we set to ensure that our schools develop meaningful, data-driven action plans that are focused on student needs. These framework goals are the foundation for building actions that guide interventions and intentional actions within our schools and across our system in Everett Public Schools. It helps us to reach every student every day so that we can ensure all students receive meaningful learning experiences, helping them to achieve their full potential, reinforcing our dedication to their success and growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or any discussion? Yes, go ahead, Dr. Reed.
Well, first of all, just amazing results. It's so cool. There are some really, really awesome celebrations in there. So congratulations, to everyone. So my question is around the district determined goals. Are those the same as last year?
Sorry.
Go ahead. that was the
Yeah,
question.
They are the same as last year. Given the fact that we had some modified WSIF strategies and goals because of the pandemic, we recommend that we go ahead and roll these for the next year just to see where we're at with the cycle 3. As we do this annually, if we need to adjust, we can do that. But this gives us a little bit more opportunity to see how things have played out. We still see some students impacted by the pandemic, and we think that this is the best recommendation for this year. And then we can assess in the next year to see if we need to adjust them up.
Do you have any understanding of how these compare to similar districts, sort of size and free and reduced?
That I do not know, but we can get that information.
Yeah, I'm just curious if they're kind of all in the same range and this is the norm, or whether we're stretching, or
We can find that information out. I don't have that information here. I do.
It's probably not worthy of a lot of time and research. It's more just a curiosity if you knew.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but we can find that out. I think that one of the things that we looked very intentionally around, like for example, dual credit, is how many students are taking that, what's been our historical past, knowing that also some of our data may have been impacted by some pandemic COVID impacts. We think these are good goals that will not only help us to get to that 2029 goal, but also realistic and tangible for our schools to be able to utilize their school improvement plans. But we can take a look and see what other districts are doing as well.
And does the year 2029, does that stick for the next several years, or does it roll forward every year?
Currently, it sticks.
Okay.
Until the State Board of Education might modify that.
Okay.
But that is until, my guess will be is it will roll through another cycle. They may change it, but at this time it sticks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Congratulations to Hawthorne and all the schools it is really, really wonderful to see. For the schools that have been identified, re-engagement, that's the Re-Engagement Academy, are they being compared to traditional high schools or alternative high schools? How does that work?
So the Re-Engagement Academy is one of the schools that's identified for support. It's one of the 8. They're in a tier 3 supports, but it is because of their unique, they capture students who traditionally are not maybe very successful in a typical setting. They don't do a comparison. They are compared to other schools. They fall in that lower threshold, so they are compared to other schools in that demographic. But it is they are receiving supports to be able to get out of that support. But it is a challenge. They are compared to other schools, other high schools in the state.
Okay,
yes.
Thanks. Any other questions? Okay, so there is a recommendation to approve the district's Washington School Improvement Framework. And I'm going to say, is there any objection to adopting this by general consent? Seeing none, it is approved by general consent. Thank you, Dr. Bowden.
Thank you.
And that moves us on to section 16.0, upcoming agenda items. Dr. Saltzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors. At the August 28th special meeting, board members will attend the board annual workshop. At the September 10th regular meeting, the board agenda contains the following: a summer update, the 2024-2025 bid list, the Ziply fiber optic sole source contract, the Listen and Talk sole source, the Overlake Hospital sole source and contracts, the college and the high school contracts, the Rotary Club of Everett Next Generation project gift, and the Limitless Learning Network gift. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saltzman. Executive or closed session already occurred tonight, so that moves us on to 18.0, or adjournment. This concludes the August 27th, 2024 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors. This meeting is now adjourned. Enjoy.